Today, Emily allowed herself a small dream. After her double shift, she'd treat herself to dinner at her favorite spot, a cozy Thai restaurant on Patton Avenue, where the pad Thai was a warm hug in a bowl. She'd bought a dress from a thrift store, a soft blue number that made her feel like she could be someone beyond the diner's aproned server. Her best friend at work, Mia, had promised a surprise during their break, and Emily clung to that promise like a lifeline. The morning sun filtered through the misty hills of Asheville, North Carolina, casting a soft golden glow over the quiet streets. Emily Harper, 25 years old today, slipped out of her childhood home at dawn, careful not to wake her parents or her younger brother, Ethan. The air carried the crisp bite of early October, and she pulled her jacket tighter, her breath visible as she walked to her Honda Civic parked on the curb. This car, her proudest achievement, was more than metal and wheels. It was 3 years of sacrifice, of extra shifts at Rosie's Diner, of skipped outings with friends, of counting every penny in a jar labeled Freedom Fund. As she turned the key in the ignition, the engine's hum felt like a heartbeat, a reminder of her hard-won independence. Today was her birthday, and though she faced a double shift at the diner, she carried a quiet hope for something special, a moment to call her own. Emily had been working since she was 16, balancing high school and then community college with long hours at Rosie's Teen. The diner, nestled in the heart of Asheville's vibrant downtown, was a second home, its worn countertops and jukebox hum a backdrop to her life. She paid $500 a month to her parents, Michael and Susan, to live in her childhood bedroom, a cramped space with faded floral wallpaper and a single window overlooking the Blue Ridge Mountains. Her father, Michael, a manager at a local auto dealership, ruled the family with an iron grip, controlling finances, schedules, and even personal choices. Susan, a part-time librarian, softened his edges with gentle excuses, saying things like, "That's just how your father shows he cares." Emily's brother, Ethan, 18, and the golden child, floated through life with new sneakers, a gleaming iPhone, and no expectation to contribute. While Emily's earnings went to family expenses, Ethan's path to Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, was paved with their parents' unwavering support. She wasn't one for big celebrations, but this birthday felt different. It was a milestone, a marker of her endurance. As she drove to Rosie's, she snapped a quick photo of the sunrise over the mountains with her old point-and-shoot camera, a hobby that let her capture fleeting moments of beauty amid the grind. Photography was her escape, a way to see the world through her own lens, and she dreamed of one day owning a professional camera to chase that passion further. At Rosie's, the breakfast rush was in full swing. The clatter of plates, the hiss of the coffee machine, and the chatter of regulars filled the air. Emily moved with practiced ease, balancing trays and flashing smiles, her feet already aching in her worn sneakers. She loved the diner's rhythm, the way it demanded focus but offered connection. Mr. Thompson, a retired teacher who came every Tuesday, always left her an extra tip and a kind word. "You're going places, Emily," he'd say, and she'd blush, tucking his encouragement away like a treasure. Today, she felt the weight of her birthday, a quiet pride in reaching 25 despite the sacrifices. She'd applied to a business program at Asheville Buncombe Technical Community College, hoping to move beyond the diner one day, maybe open her own studio where her photos could tell stories. By 2:30 p.m., the lunch rush had slowed, and Emily slipped into the break room for a moment of reprieve. Mia, her blonde curls bouncing, had decorated the small space with a single balloon that read, "Happy Birthday," in bright red letters. A chocolate cupcake sat on the table, topped with a sparkler candle that crackled with light. "Make a wish, birthday girl," Mia said, clapping her hands. Emily closed her eyes, the sparkler's glow dancing behind her lids. She wished for courage, for a life where her dreams weren't overshadowed by duty. As she blew out the candle, her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. Expecting a birthday text from her Aunt Margaret in Charlotte, she glanced at the screen. The message was from her father, Michael, and it stopped her cold. "We sold your car this morning. Got $4,000 cash. Family comes first. Be grateful we let you stay." Her heart plummeted. The words blurred as her hands trembled. The Honda Civic, her symbol of independence, bought with 3 years of sweat and savings, was gone. It was in her name, her title, her achievement, yet Michael had been a co-signer, just in case. a decision she now saw as a trap. She typed back, her fingers shaking. "What? That's my car. I paid for it. It's in my name." His reply came instantly. Ethan got into Vanderbilt. Tuition deposit was due. You'll cover his first semester too. $6,000 this week. Another text followed. We handled the paperwork. Family emergency. Her stomach twisted. Vanderbilt, the prestigious university Ethan had been groomed for, was the reason her car was gone. $6,000, more than she had saved, was now expected of her, as if her own dreams were irrelevant. Emily stepped outside into the alley behind Rosie's, the October chill biting her skin. She called Michael, her voice unsteady. "You can't do this. That car is legally mine. I worked for it." His tone was calm, almost dismissive. "The title had me as co-signer for emergencies, Emily. This is an emergency. Ethan's future matters. Your car was just sitting there losing value." She protested. "You sold it for $4,000? It's worth at least $7,000. Michael's voice hardened. "The buyer paid cash, no questions. Besides, you owe us for Ethan's tuition. Pick up extra shifts." The call ended, leaving Emily staring at the brick wall, her breath hitching. 3 years of late nights, skipped meals, and donated plasma flashed through her mind. Every dollar she'd earned, every moment she'd sacrificed, had been erased without her consent. Mia found her in the alley, her face pale with concern. "Em, what's wrong?" Through tears, Emily explained the text, the car, the demand for thousands more. Mia's eyes widened. "That's not just wrong, it's illegal. They can't sell your car like that." Emily shook her head, the idea of confronting her parents overwhelming. "It's my family, Mia. It's complicated." But the seed of defiance was planted. She thought of her grandmother's words, whispered years ago before she passed. "Your heart knows when it's time to walk away." Emily clutched her camera, snapping a photo of the alley's shadows, a stark contrast to the sunrise she'd captured that morning. The image felt like a metaphor for her life. Light giving way to darkness. Back inside, Emily returned to her shift, moving like a ghost through the diner. Regulars noticed her red eyes, but she deflected with a server's smile. Her mind churned with questions. How had Michael sold her car? What else had he controlled behind her back? She thought of her journal, hidden in her room where she wrote poetry to process the weight of her family's expectations. One line echoed in her mind. "Caged in duty, I dream of wings." As the dinner rush began, she held on to that line, a quiet rebellion forming. This birthday, meant for small joys, had become a turning point. The betrayal stung, but it also awakened something fierce within her, a resolve to reclaim what was hers, to find a way forward. As she poured coffee for table 6, she whispered to herself, "This isn't the end. It's the beginning." The rain had started falling outside Rosie's diner, a soft drizzle painting the streets of Asheville, North Carolina, in shades of gray. Emily Harper, still reeling from her father's text about her stolen car, stood behind the counter, pouring coffee for a late lunch customer. Her 25th birthday, which had begun with a flicker of hope, now felt like a wound. The Honda Civic she'd spent 3 years saving for, her symbol of independence, was gone, sold by her father, Michael, to fund her brother Ethan's tuition at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee. The text message, cold and commanding. "We sold your car, family first. Be grateful we let you stay," echoed in her mind, each word a jab at her heart. As she wiped down the counter, her thoughts spiraled, tracing the roots of her family's expectations, a weight she'd carried since she was 16. Emily's family, the Harpers, lived in a modest 2-story home on the outskirts of Asheville, where the Blue Ridge Mountains framed the horizon. Michael, her father, managed a bustling auto dealership downtown, his charm with customers masking a need to control everything at home. Finances, schedules, even personal belongings, nothing escaped his iron grip. Susan, her mother, a part-time librarian with a gentle smile, softened his edges with excuses that had become a refrain. "That's just your father's way of caring." Emily's younger brother, Ethan, 18 and effortlessly charming, was the golden child, his room overflowing with gaming consoles, designer sneakers, and the latest iPhone, all gifts from their parents to ensure he fit in at school. Ethan never worked, his focus on grades and college applications deemed more important. Meanwhile, Emily's life was a grind of double shifts at Rosie's Diner and community college classes. Her dreams deferred to keep the family afloat. Since she was 16, Emily had paid $500 a month to live in her childhood bedroom, a small space with creaky floorboards and a view of the mountains that felt both comforting and confining. Her father called it learning responsibility, but the money went to family expenses, groceries, utilities, and vague emergencies that were never explained. Emily's high school graduation fund, a modest sum from relatives, had vanished into a family trip to Myrtle Beach. Her first big bonus from Rosie's had paid for a new dishwasher. Each loss chipped away at her sense of self. Yet she complied, driven by a mix of guilt and love, her mother's words ringing in her ears. Family sacrifices for each other. The expectation was clear: her achievements belonged to the family, not her. Now, as she stood in the diner, the betrayal of her car's sale cut deeper than ever. Michael's text demanded she cover $6,000 for Ethan's first semester at Vanderbilt, a prestigious school that symbolized his bright future. Emily's own college dreams had been dismissed years ago. She'd been accepted to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill with a partial scholarship, but Michael convinced her it was financially irresponsible to take on loans. "Stay home, save money, help the family," he'd said, his voice firm but persuasive. So she stayed, enrolled at Asheville Buncombe Technical Community College, and poured her earnings into the family's needs. Ethan, meanwhile, was encouraged to aim for elite schools, his path paved with opportunities Emily could only dream of. Emily's hands trembled as she set down the coffee pot. She slipped into the break room, needing a moment to breathe. Her journal, tucked in her purse, was her sanctuary. She pulled it out, its worn pages filled with poetry that gave voice to her silent struggles. She flipped to a recent poem written after a long shift. "Bound by duty's heavy chain, I dream of skies where I'm unchained." The words felt alive now, a quiet rebellion against the life she'd been forced to live. She scribbled a new line. "My heart's a spark, though trapped in stone." Writing was her way of processing the unfairness. The constant giving without receiving. She loved her family, but the imbalance was suffocating. Ethan's future was the priority, while hers was an afterthought. Back at the counter, Mr. Thompson, a regular with kind eyes and a gray beard, noticed her distraction. "Everything okay, Emily?" he asked, his voice warm. A retired teacher, he'd been coming to Rosie's every Tuesday for years, always leaving a generous tip and a word of encouragement. "Just a tough day," she said, forcing a smile. He leaned forward, his gaze steady. "You're stronger than you know, kid. Don't let anyone dim your light." His words landed like a lifeline, pulling her back from the edge of despair. She nodded, tucking his kindness away, a small flame in the storm of her emotions. Emily's phone buzzed again. Another text from Michael. "We handled the paperwork. Family emergency clause. You'll thank us when Ethan's successful." Her stomach churned. The family emergency clause was a leash, was the legal owner of the car, her name on the title. Michael's role as co-signer, insisted upon years ago, just in case, was now a weapon. She called him, her voice shaking with anger. "Dad, that's my car. I paid for it. How could you sell it?" Michael's tone was calm, almost patronizing. "It's for Ethan's tuition deposit. Vanderbilt's a big deal, Emily. You're 25. You'll get another car." She pressed. "You sold it for $4,000? It's worth $7,000. His reply was dismissive. Cash was quick. "No questions. Start picking up extra shifts for the $6,000 you owe us." The call ended, leaving her hollow. She stared out the diner's window, the rain blurring the neon lights of downtown Asheville. Memories flooded back, countless nights counting coins in her Freedom Fund jar, selling old clothes online, skipping meals to save a few dollars. The Honda Civic had been her proudest moment, a tangible piece of independence. Driving it home from the dealership, she'd felt free, the mountains stretching endlessly before her. Michael had been there, insisting on checking the paperwork, but she'd handled the negotiation herself, a rare moment of control. Now that moment was stolen, reduced to a transaction she hadn't authorized. Emily's thoughts turned to her photography, another piece of herself she'd nurtured in secret. Her old camera, a gift from her late grandmother, captured moments of beauty sunrises over the mountains, strangers' smiles at the diner. She dreamed of a professional camera, of one day opening a studio where her photos could tell stories. But those dreams felt distant now, overshadowed by her father's demands. She pulled out her journal again, writing, "They took my wings, but not my sky." The words felt like a promise to herself, a spark of defiance in the face of betrayal. Mia poked her head into the break room, her face soft with concern. "You okay, Em? You've been quiet since your break." Emily hesitated, then shared the truth about the car and the tuition demand. Mia's eyes widened, her voice sharp. "That's not right, Emily. That's your car, your money. You need to fight this." Emily nodded, the idea of fighting her family both terrifying and exhilarating. She thought of her grandmother's advice. "Your heart knows when it's time to walk away." The words stirred something deep within her, a resolve to reclaim her life. As she returned to the diner floor, the rain outside grew heavier, mirroring the storm inside her. Mr. Thompson caught her eye, offering a small nod of encouragement. Emily straightened her apron, her mind racing. The weight of family expectations had crushed her for years, but today's betrayal was a breaking point. She wasn't just a resource for her family's needs. She was Emily, a woman with dreams, a poet, a photographer, a fighter. As she served the next customer, a quiet strength took root. This was her birthday, her life, and she would not let it be stolen. The rain-soaked streets of Asheville, North Carolina, glistened under the dim streetlights as Emily Harper walked home from Rosie's Diner, her waitress shoes squelching with every step. The betrayal of her 25th birthday still burned her father, Michael, had sold her Honda Civic, the car she'd spent 3 years saving for, to fund her brother Ethan's tuition deposit at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee. His text, "We sold your car, family first. Be grateful we let you stay," had shattered the quiet hope she'd carried that morning. The additional demand for $6,000 to cover Ethan's semester felt like a theft of her future, a future she'd fought for through endless shifts at the diner and community college classes. As she trudged through the drizzle, her mind churned with questions. How had Michael sold her car, legally hers, without her consent? What else had he hidden? The weight of her family's expectations, a burden she'd carried since 16, pressed harder now. But a spark of defiance flickered within her, fueled by the pain of this latest violation. At home, the Harper household was quiet, the 2-story suburban house dark except for a faint glow from the living room. Emily slipped inside, avoiding the creaky floorboard in the entryway. Her parents, Michael and Susan, were likely asleep, and Ethan, the golden child, was probably lost in his gaming console, oblivious to the storm brewing in her heart. She climbed the stairs to her childhood bedroom, its faded floral wallpaper a reminder of a life she'd outgrown but couldn't escape. Sitting on her bed, she pulled out her phone and opened the voice memo app, a new habit she'd started to process her thoughts. "It's my birthday," she whispered, her voice trembling, "and they took my car, my freedom. I need to know how far this goes." The act of speaking aloud felt like reclaiming a piece of herself, a small rebellion against the silence her family demanded. Emily's thoughts turned to her journal, hidden under her mattress, where she wrote poetry to make sense of her family's demands. She flipped to a recent poem. "Bound by duty's heavy chain, I dream of skies where I'm unchained." The words, written weeks ago, now felt prophetic. She added a new line. "Betrayed by blood, I'll find my truth." The journal was her sanctuary, but it wasn't enough tonight. She needed answers. Michael's cryptic text about a family emergency clause gnawed at her. He'd been a co-signer on the car's title, a precaution she'd agreed to at 18, trusting his intentions. Now, she saw it as a trap. Driven by a mix of anger and fear, she crept downstairs to Michael's home office, a room off-limits without his permission. The door was locked, but she remembered a childhood trick, the spare key taped under the desk. Her heart pounded as she retrieved the key and opened the door. The office smelled of leather and stale coffee, Michael's domain of control. She moved quickly, her phone's flashlight illuminating stacks of papers in the desk drawer. What she found stole her breath. Credit card statements in her name, accounts she'd never opened, totaling over $30,000 in debt. Loan documents bore her signature, a convincing forgery dated during shifts she'd worked at Rosie's, verifiable by her time cards. Her social security number appeared on transactions she'd never authorized. The evidence of identity theft was staggering, a betrayal deeper than the car. Among the papers, she found bank statements showing cash withdrawals at ATMs near Harrah's Cherokee Casino, a 2-hour drive from Asheville. Michael's gambling habit, whispered about by relatives but never confirmed, was now undeniable. Her father had used her good credit to finance his addiction, draining her future to cover his losses. As she photographed each document with her phone, her hands shook, not just from anger but from the violation of trust. This wasn't just about the carrot, it was years of manipulation, of her sacrifices being weaponized. She paused, recording another voice memo. "He's been stealing my identity, my life. I trusted him, and he used me." The words felt like a release, a step toward clarity. Then, tucked in a folder labeled Family Records, she found something else, a letter from her Aunt Margaret in Charlotte, dated 3 years ago. It offered to help pay for Emily's college tuition at UNC Chapel Hill, an offer Michael had intercepted and dismissed as interference. The letter was a lifeline she'd never known existed, proof that someone in her family had believed in her dreams. Tears stung her eyes as she photographed it, whispering, "Thank you, Aunt Margaret." Emily's mind raced back to her childhood, to moments when her contributions were taken for granted. Her high school graduation money had funded a family vacation to Myrtle Beach. Her first diner bonus had paid for a dishwasher. Each time, Susan's refrain, family sacrifices for each other, had silenced her protests. Now, she saw the pattern clearly. Her achievements were never hers. Michael's control extended beyond money, shaping her choices, her dreams, even her sense of self. She thought of Mr. Thompson, the regular at Rosie's, whose kind words that day, "Don't let anyone dim your light," had felt like a beacon. She recorded another memo. "I'm not crazy. This is real. I'm going to fight this." The weight of the discovery was crushing, but it also ignited a fire within her. Emily emailed the photos to herself and, impulsively, to Aunt Margaret, whose support she now craved. She slipped out of the office, locking the door behind her, and returned to her room. Her camera, a gift from her late grandmother, sat on her desk, a reminder of her passion for photography. She picked it up, snapping a photo of her journal open to her latest poem. The image captured her resolve, a moment of clarity amid the chaos. She thought of Mia, her best friend at Rosie's, who'd been outraged by the car's sale. Mia's words, "You need to fight this," echoed in her mind, mingling with her grandmother's advice. "Your heart knows when it's time to walk away." As she lay in bed, the rain tapping against her window, Emily felt a shift. The betrayal was a wound, but it was also a wake-up call. She wasn't just a daughter, a sister, a provider. She was Emily, a woman with dreams of a photography studio, of a life where her worth wasn't measured by what she gave up. Her voice memo captured her final thought before sleep. "This isn't just about the car. It's about my life. I'm taking it back." The documents, the letter, the truth, they were her weapons now. She didn't know how she'd confront Michael, but she knew she couldn't stay silent. The mountains outside her window, shrouded in mist, felt like a promise of something bigger, a world where she could be free. As sleep claimed her, Emily held on to that promise, her heart whispering that this was the beginning of her fight, not the end of her story. The rain had turned into a steady downpour by the time Emily Harper reached her family's 2-story home on the outskirts of Asheville, North Carolina. Her waitress uniform clung to her skin, soaked from the 1.8-mile walk from Rosie's diner, her feet aching after a 12-hour double shift on her 25th birthday. The sting of her father's betrayal selling her Honda Civic, her hard-earned symbol of independence, to fund her brother Ethan's tuition at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee burned deeper than the cold. Michael's text, "We sold your car, family first, be grateful we let you stay," echoed in her mind, followed by his demand for $6,000 to cover Ethan's semester. The discovery of his identity, theft $30,000 in fraudulent credit cards and loans in her name, tied to gambling debts at Harrah's Cherokee Casino, had shattered her trust. As she stood outside her childhood home, peering through the dining room window, The scene inside pushed her to the edge of a breaking point she hadn't known she could reach. Inside, the Harper family sat around the oak dining table, bathed in the warm glow of a chandelier. Ethan, 18 and the favored son, wore a Vanderbilt sweatshirt, grinning as he cut into a chocolate cake iced with, "Congratulations, Ethan." Susan, her mother, bustled about, serving relatives and Ethan's friends, her smile strained but practiced. Michael sat at the head, his voice booming with pride about Vanderbilt's prestige. No one mentioned Emily's birthday, her absence unnoticed or unimportant. The cake, her favorite flavor, was a cruel irony, a celebration of Ethan's future built on the theft of her own. She clutched her camera, a gift from her late grandmother, and snapped a photo through the window, the image capturing her isolation and outsider looking in on a family that no longer felt like hers. Emily pushed open the front door, water dripping onto the hardwood floor. The room fell silent, all eyes on her sodden figure. Susan gasped, "Emily, you're ruining the floor. Why didn't you call for a ride?" The question cut deep, and Emily's voice was steady but sharp. "With what car, Mom? The one Dad sold without my permission?" Michael stood, his face hardening. "This isn't the time, Emily. We're celebrating Ethan's achievement. Go change and join us." The dismissal was familiar, but tonight it fueled her resolve. She stepped forward, her shoes squelching. "I know about Vanderbilt. $6,000 due this week, from me, and I know you forged my signature to sell my car." Gasps rippled through the room. Ethan looked up from his phone, confused. "Wait, what? I thought the college fund covered it." Michael's voice was quick, authoritative. "It is covered. Your sister's being dramatic. We liquidated some assets for the family." Emily's voice rose, steady despite her trembling hands. "My car. My money. 3 years of shifts at Rosie's, of saving every dollar, that asset." Susan interjected, her tone pleading. "Honey, it was for Ethan's future. Vanderbilt only accepts a few from North Carolina." Emily turned to her, the weight of years pressing down. "And what about my future? I paid for that car. I paid rent here since I was 16. $500 a month for my own room, while Ethan gets everything handed to him." Aunt Margaret, seated near the kitchen, spoke softly, her voice cutting through the tension. "Michael, what's she talking about?" Emily had emailed Margaret the evidence of Michael's fraud-forged signatures, credit cards, loans before leaving Rosie's. Michael's face reddened, but he deflected. "This is a family decision, Emily. You're upsetting everyone." Emily held her ground, her voice unwavering. "You didn't ask me. You stole from me. And I found the papers in your office. The credit cards, the loans, the gambling at Harrah's Cherokee. You used my name, my credit, my life." The room froze. Susan looked away, her hands twisting a napkin. Ethan's friends shifted uncomfortably, and relatives exchanged glances. Michael's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. "You're making accusations you can't prove. Family comes first, Emily. You've lived here, eaten our food, for years." Emily's anger flared, years of suppressed resentment breaking free. "I've paid for that food, that room every month since I was 16. I gave up UNC Chapel Hill because you said it was irresponsible. I've given everything, and you expect more." She turned to Ethan, her voice softening but firm. "Congratulations on Vanderbilt, Ethan. But it's not my job to pay for it." Susan stepped forward, her voice trembling. "Emily, please. Family sacrifices for each other." The familiar refrain, meant to guilt her into compliance, no longer worked. Emily shook her head, tears mixing with rainwater on her cheeks. "I've sacrificed enough. I'm done." Michael stood taller, his authority challenged. "If you can't support this family, you're not part of it. Pack your things and get out. Tonight." The words landed like a blow, but Emily felt a strange calm. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind. "Your heart knows when it's time to walk away." She nodded, her resolve solidifying. "Okay. I'll leave." She climbed the stairs to her room, the murmurs below resuming as if her departure were a minor disruption. In her bedroom, she pulled a suitcase from under the bed and began packing, her movements methodical. She selected practical clothes jeans, sweaters, her diner uniform, leaving behind high school trinkets that tied her to a past she was ready to release. Her scrapbook, filled with photographs she'd taken over the year sunrises over the Blue Ridge Mountains, candid shots of Rosie's regulars, came with her, a testament to her identity beyond the family's demands. She flipped through it, pausing at a photo of her grandmother, whose warm eyes seemed to nod in approval. "You were right, Grandma," she whispered. "It's time." Emily texted Mia, her best friend at Rosie's. "Emergency, can I stay with you tonight?" Mia's reply was instant. "My couch is yours. Get here safe." As she packed her journal, where she wrote poetry to process her pain, a new line formed. "I break the chains. I claim my name." The words felt like a vow. She checked her desk drawer for her vital documents, social security card, passport, birth certificate, but it was empty. A chill ran through her. Michael had taken them, likely anticipating her resistance. She texted Aunt Margaret, "Dad has my documents. I'm leaving. Can we talk soon?" Margaret's response was immediate. "I'm here for you, Emily. Call me tomorrow." Downstairs, the celebration continued, Ethan's laughter mingling with Michael's boasts about Vanderbilt. Emily stood in the entryway, suitcases at her feet. Susan approached, her face pale. "Don't do this, Emily. We're your family." Emily met her gaze, her voice steady. "Family doesn't steal from each other, Mom. I found the truth tonight. I'm not staying where I'm not valued." Michael didn't look up, his silence a final dismissal. Ethan glanced at her, his expression a mix of confusion and guilt, but he said nothing. Emily opened the door, the rain welcoming her back into the night. As she stepped outside Mia's address in her phone, she felt the weight of her decision, not just leaving, but choosing herself. The mountains loomed in the distance, their shadows a promise of a new beginning. She walked away, her heart heavy but her spirit free, ready to fight for the life she deserved. The morning after Emily Harper walked away from her family's home in Asheville, North Carolina, she woke on Mia's couch, the soft hum of a coffee maker, pulling her from a dreamless sleep. The events of her 25th birthday replayed like a storm in her mind. Her father, Michael, selling her Honda Civic to fund her brother Ethan's tuition at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, his demand for $6,000 more, the discovery of his identity theft, with over $30,000 in fraudulent loans and credit cards in her name, tied to gambling debts at Harrah's Cherokee Casino, and the final confrontation at the family dinner, where Michael's ultimatum or leave had pushed her out into the rain. Now, in the quiet of Mia's small apartment, Emily felt both unmoored and strangely free. The weight of her family's expectations had been crushing, but walking away had cracked open a door to a new life, one she couldn't yet see but was determined to build. Today, she would start by finding allies, people who saw her not as a resource but as a person with dreams worth fighting for. Mia's apartment, a cozy space in downtown Asheville, was filled with eclectic, touches mismatched furniture, fairy lights, and a shelf of well-loved books. Emily sat up, her suitcase and scrapbook of photographs at her feet, remnants of the life she'd left behind. Her camera, a gift from her late grandmother, rested on the coffee table, a reminder of her passion for photography, a passion she'd nurtured through stolen moments at Rosie's diner. Mia emerged from the kitchen, her blonde curls tied back, holding 2 mugs of coffee. "You okay, Em?" she asked, her voice soft but steady. Emily nodded, though tears pricked her eyes. "I don't know where to start, Mia. They took my car, my documents, my trust." Mia sat beside her, handing her a mug. "You start with us, the people who've got your back. You're not alone in this." Emily sipped the coffee, its warmth grounding her. She opened her phone, the screen cluttered with missed calls from Susan, her mother, 5 from Michael, and 1 from Aunt Margaret in Charlotte. Ignoring her parents' messages, she called Margaret, whose letter offering college funding years ago had been intercepted by Michael. Margaret answered on the first ring. "Emily? Are you safe?" she asked, her voice a lifeline. "I'm with Mia," Emily replied. "I left last night. Dad sold my car, forged my signature, and I found papers showing he's been using my identity for loans and credit cards." Margaret's sigh was heavy. "I've worried about Michael's control for years. He did the same to me when we were younger, borrowed money, made excuses. Come to Charlotte when you're ready. We'll figure this out together. The call left Emily lighter, as if Margaret's support had lifted a corner of her burden. She thought of her grandmother's words, whispered years ago. Your heart knows when it's time to walk away. That wisdom had guided her out of the Harper house. And now, it pointed her toward a new path. Mia, sensing her resolve, suggested a practical step. There's a free financial literacy workshop at the Pack Memorial Library this afternoon. They teach you how to protect your credit. Spot fraud. Could be a start. Emily nodded, the idea sparking hope. She also remembered a flyer at Rosie's for a local photography club that met weekly at a community center near Biltmore Village. Joining might give her a creative outlet, a way to reclaim the joy her family had overshadowed. That afternoon, Emily walked to the library, the crisp October air clearing her mind. The workshop, led by a financial advisor named Clara, was a small group of locals learning to navigate budgets and credit reports. Clara's no-nonsense approach explaining how to freeze credit, monitor accounts, and recognize fraud felt like a roadmap to safety. Emily took notes, her pen moving quickly as she realized how little she'd known about protecting herself. Family members are often the ones who exploit you, Clara said, her words hitting home. They have access to your information and count on loyalty to keep you quiet. Emily's throat tightened, thinking of Michael's forged signatures. She raised her hand, her voice steady. What if it's your parents? Clara's eyes softened. You're not alone. Report it, freeze your credit, and get legal help. You deserve to protect yourself. The advice was a spark, igniting Emily's determination to fight back. After the workshop, Emily headed to the photography club, her camera slung over her shoulder. The community center buzzed with artists of all ages, their easels and cameras a vibrant contrast to her family's stifling control. A woman named Lena, a retired photographer with warm brown eyes, welcomed her. What brings you here? She asked. Emily hesitated, then shared her love for capturing moments: sunrises, diner smiles, the Blue Ridge Mountains. Lena handed her a used Canon camera, a gift from the club's donation pile. Try this tonight, she said. It's yours to borrow. Emily's fingers traced the camera's sleek lines, a surge of possibility washing over her. She snapped a photo of the group, their laughter a stark contrast to the silence of her family's dinner table. Back at Mia's, Emily confided in her friend about the fraud, the workshop, and the photography club. Mia's outrage was fierce. Your dad can't get away with this, Em. It's theft, plain and simple. Emily nodded, pulling out her journal to write a new poem. Roots of trust torn from the ground, yet new hands lift me, safe and sound. The words captured her growing network. Mia, Margaret, Lena, Clara. She called Uncle David, a financial advisor in Raleigh, who had distanced himself from Michael after years of arguments. I saw your email with the documents, David said, his voice grim. This is serious, Emily. Michael's been using your identity to cover gambling debts. I'll help you sort this out. Come to Raleigh if you need to. His support, like Margaret's, felt like a bridge to a new life. Emily recorded a voice memo before bed, her voice steady. I'm not alone anymore. Mia, Margaret, David, even strangers at the library and the club, they see me. I'm building something new. She opened her scrapbook, pasting in a photo from the club. The group's smiles a reminder of chosen connections. Mr. Thompson's words from Rosie's echoed. Don't let anyone dim your light. She was starting to believe him. The mountains outside Mia's window stood tall in the moonlight, a symbol of the strength she was finding within. As she drifted to sleep, Emily felt a shift not just away from her family's betrayal, but toward a community that valued her dreams. This was her breaking point. Not the end, but the beginning of a life where she could shine. The soft morning light filtered through the curtains of Mia's apartment in Asheville, North Carolina, casting a warm glow over Emily Harper's temporary refuge. A week had passed since her 25th birthday, a day that had unraveled her life. Her father, Michael, had sold her Honda Civic, her hard-earned symbol of independence, to fund her brother Ethan's tuition deposit at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, demanding $6,000 more from her savings. The discovery of Michael's identity, theft over $30,000 in fraudulent loans and credit cards in her name, tied to gambling debts at Harrah's Cherokee Casino, had shattered her trust, leading to a confrontation that ended with her leaving her family's home. Now, staying with Mia, her best friend from Rosie's Diner, Emily was building a support network with Aunt Margaret in Charlotte, Uncle David in Raleigh, and new connections from a photography club and a financial literacy workshop. The betrayal still stung, but a quiet strength was taking root, urging her to reclaim her life through decisive action. Today, she would confront the fraud head-on, not with anger, but with the law on her side, a step toward justice and a future she could shape herself. Sitting at Mia's kitchen table, Emily sipped coffee, her journal open to a new poem. From ashes of trust I forge my path, a spark of justice to tame my wrath. Writing had become her anchor, a way to process the chaos. Her phone buzzed with a text from Uncle David, the financial advisor who'd confirmed Michael's fraud after reviewing the documents she'd photographed in his office. "Meet me in Raleigh tomorrow," David wrote. "I've connected you with a lawyer, Karen, who specializes in identity theft. We'll make this right." Emily's heart raced, a mix of fear and hope. Taking legal action against her father felt daunting, a line she'd never imagined crossing. But the evidence-forged signatures, unauthorized accounts, stolen documents was undeniable. She recorded a voice memo, her voice steady. "I'm scared, but I'm not backing down. This isn't just about me anymore. It's about stopping him." That afternoon, Emily attended a support group for identity theft victims at the Pack Memorial Library, a suggestion from Clara, the financial advisor from the workshop. The group, a small circle of strangers, shared stories of betrayal siblings, spouses, and, like Emily, parents who'd exploited their trust. A woman named Sarah, whose uncle had opened credit cards in her name, spoke softly. "It's not just the money they steal, it's your sense of safety." Emily nodded, her throat tight. She shared her story, her voice trembling as she described Michael's fraud and the loss of her car. The group's empathy was a balm, their nods and murmured support, a reminder that she wasn't alone. Sarah handed her a pamphlet on reporting fraud, saying, "You're stronger than you think." Emily tucked it into her scrapbook, next to a photo from the photography club, a growing collection of moments that defined her resilience. Inspired by the group, Emily started a blog that evening, a simple platform to share her photography and reflections. She titled her first post, "Reclaiming My Frame," blending images of Asheville's misty mountains with thoughts on rebuilding after betrayal. "My family took my car, my credit, my trust," she wrote, "but they can't take my vision." The act of writing publicly felt bold, a way to process her pain and connect with others. By morning, a handful of comments from strangers, "You're so brave." "I've been there," lit a spark of connection, reinforcing her resolve. She packed her camera and journal for the trip to Raleigh, ready to meet David and Karen. In Raleigh, Uncle David's office was a sleek space overlooking the city skyline, a contrast to Asheville's cozy charm. David, a tall man with kind eyes, hugged her tightly. "I'm proud of you, Emily," he said. "This isn't easy, but it's necessary." Karen, the lawyer, was a no-nonsense woman with a sharp mind and a warm smile. She reviewed the photograph documents, her expression growing grim. "This is clear identity theft," she said. "Forged signatures, unauthorized accounts, and the car saleets all illegal. We'll draft a formal letter to Michael, demanding the return of your car or its fair market value, $7,200, the return of your documents, and the closure of all fraudulent accounts in your name, transferred to his. If he refuses, we file police reports, which could lead to criminal charges." Emily's stomach twisted at the thought of police involvement, but Karen's clarity steadied her. "You're not betraying your family," Karen said gently. "You're protecting yourself." David nodded, adding, "I found something else. Michael used Ethan's identity Tutwu credit cards in his name, opened recently." The revelation hit Emily hard. Ethan, the golden child, had been spared the burdens she carried, but he wasn't immune to Michael's desperation. She texted Ethan, who was still in Asheville. "Check your credit report. Dad's been using your name, too." His reply came hours later. "What?" "I'm coming to Raleigh." The news shifted something in Emily. She wasn't just fighting for herself now, but for her brother, caught in their father's web. Karen drafted the letter, a clinical yet powerful document outlining the evidence and terms for avoiding legal action. Emily read it, her heart pounding. It felt like a declaration of her worth, a refusal to be erased. She recorded another voice memo. This letter is my voice, loud and clear. I'm not invisible anymore. Karen also suggested a mediation session with Michael, a chance to resolve things privately, but Emily wasn't ready to face him. Instead, she focused on immediate steps. With David's help, she filed fraud alerts with the 3 major credit bureaus and began the process of disputing the unauthorized accounts. Each step felt like reclaiming a piece of her identity, stolen not just by Michael but by years of family expectations. Back in Asheville, Emily returned to the photography club, where Lena, the retired photographer, noticed her quiet strength. "You've got a fire in you," Lena said, handing her a book on documentary photography. "Use your camera to tell your story." Emily snapped a photo of Lena's hands, weathered but steady, a symbol of the guidance she was finding. Her blog gained traction, with more readers sharing their own stories of family betrayal. One comment read, "Your photos and words give me hope. Keep going." The support from strangers and new friends alike was a lifeline, a contrast to the silence of her family. Ethan arrived at Mia's apartment that evening, his Vanderbilt sweatshirt rumpled, his face pale. "I checked my credit," he said, his voice low. "2 cards, $3,000. I had no idea." Emily hugged him, their shared betrayal a fragile bridge. "We'll report it together," she said. The next day, they visited the Asheville Police Department, filing reports with Officer Daniels, a calm woman who treated their case with care. "Family fraud is common," Daniels said, "because they bank on you not reporting. You're doing the right thing." The police reports were a turning point, a line drawn in the sand. Emily felt the weight of her decision, but also its power. She was no longer a victim, but a fighter. As she walked home through Asheville's vibrant streets, the Blue Ridge Mountains standing tall in the distance, Emily felt a shift. Her grandmother's words echoed. "Your heart knows when it's time to walk away." She'd walked away from her family's control, but now she was walking toward justice, supported by Mia, Margaret, David, Karen, Lena, and a growing community. She opened her journal, writing, "I claim my name, my truth, my fight." The legal battle was just beginning, but Emily was ready, her heart a compass guiding her toward a life where her light could shine, undimmed by those who'd tried to steal it. 2 weeks had passed since Emily Harper left her family's home in Asheville, North Carolina, on her 25th birthday, a night marked by rain and revelations. The betrayal her father, Michael, selling her Honda Civic to fund her brother Ethan's tuition at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, and demanding $6,000 more had led to the discovery of his identity theft. Over $30,000 in fraudulent loans and credit cards in her name, tied to gambling debts at Harrah's Cherokee Casino. The confrontation at a family dinner, where Michael expelled her for refusing to comply, had been her breaking point. Supported by Mia, her best friend from Rosie's Diner, Aunt Margaret in Charlotte, Uncle David in Raleigh, and a lawyer, Karen, Emily had taken legal action, filing police reports with Ethan, who'd learned Michael had also used his identity. Now, staying in Mia's apartment, Emily was navigating the fallout, her blog and photography club fueling her resilience. The family she'd known was unraveling, but within the chaos, she was finding herself, growing into a woman who could stand tall amid the ruins. Emily sat on Mia's couch, her journal open to a new poem. "From shattered roots, I grow anew. My heart a seed, my sky so blue." The words captured her shift from pain to possibility, a journey mirrored by the Blue Ridge Mountains outside, steadfast through storms. Her blog, Reclaiming My Frame, had grown, its blend of photography and reflections on betrayal resonating with readers. A recent post, paired with a photo of Asheville's misty hills, read, "Family can break you, but you can rebuild with those who see your light." Comments from strangers. "Your courage inspires me. I'm fighting my own battle." Felt like a digital embrace, reinforcing her path. She recorded a voice memo, her voice soft but firm. "I'm not just surviving. I'm growing. I'm learning who I am without their chains." The legal actions were bearing fruit. Michael, faced with Karen's letter demanding the return of Emily's car, documents, and closure of fraudulent accounts, had provided contact information for the buyer, a poker buddy who'd paid $4,000, well below the car's $7,200 value. With Uncle David's support, Emily confronted the buyer, recovering her car and $2,000 in compensation. Her vital documents, social security card, passport, birth certificate, arrived at Mia's in an envelope delivered by Ethan, extracted from Michael's hidden stash. The police investigation, led by Officer Daniels, resulted in Michael accepting a plea deal: probation, mandatory financial counseling, and restitution payments. The consequences cost him his job at the auto dealership, a loss he blamed on Emily, his angry texts accusing her of destroying the family. She didn't respond, her silence, a boundary she was learning to hold. Susan, Emily's mother, was beginning to question Michael's control. She called Emily, her voice hesitant. "I've taken a full-time job at the library," she said. "I didn't know how bad things were. Your father handled everything." Emily felt a pang of empathy, tempered by years of Susan's enabling. "I'm glad you're starting, Mom," she replied, "but I need time." Susan's decision to work full-time was a small step toward independence, a crack in the passive role she'd played. Ethan, meanwhile, faced his own reckoning. Vanderbilt rescinded his acceptance after the tuition deposit check bounced, a casualty of Michael's depleted finances. He enrolled at Asheville Buncombe Technical Community College, taking a part-time job at a local bookstore. "I'm sorry, Em," he told her over coffee at a cafe on Patton Avenue. "I didn't see how much you carried." His remorse, raw and genuine, softened Emily's heart. "We were both caught in Dad's system," she said. "You're starting fresh now." Emily's growth was nurtured by new pursuits. She began volunteering at a youth center in West Asheville, teaching photography to teens whose eyes lit up as they framed their world through a lens. One girl, Sophia, reminded Emily of her self-quiet, burdened by family expectations. "You see things differently with a camera," Sophia said, holding up a photo of a cracked sidewalk blooming with weeds. Emily smiled, pasting the photo in her scrapbook. "You see beauty where others don't," she replied, her words as much for Sophia as for herself. Volunteering gave her purpose, a way to give back without sacrificing her own dreams, a balance she was learning to embrace. Therapy, recommended by Lena from the photography club, became another cornerstone. Emily met weekly with Dr. Rachel, a therapist whose calm presence helped her unravel the guilt and obligation woven into her identity. "Your family conditioned you to prioritize their needs," Dr. Rachel said during a session. "Learning to say no isn't selfish, it's survival." Emily nodded, tears falling as she recalled years of giving $500 a month to live at home, her college dreams deferred for Ethan's doctor. Rachel gave her a journal exercise. Write letters to her younger self, affirming her worth. Emily's first letter began, "You are enough, just as you are." The words, simple yet profound, were a balm, healing wounds she hadn't named. Her photography club meetings were a creative lifeline. Lena encouraged her to experiment, and Emily's latest project-a-series of Asheville street scenes at dawn captured the city's quiet resilience, mirroring her own. She posted the series on her blog, writing, "Dawn doesn't erase the night, but it promises light. I'm finding mine." The post drew more readers, some sharing stories of leaving toxic families, others offering virtual support. One comment, from a woman named Grace, read, "Your photos make me believe I can start over." Emily replied, her fingers trembling, "You can. I'm proof." The exchange felt like a gift, a reminder that her story could inspire others. Mia remained her rock, their evenings filled with laughter and wine, a contrast to the tension of Emily's old home. "You're blooming, Em," Mia said one night, raising a glass. "Look at all you're doing: volunteering, therapy, that blog. You're unstoppable." Emily smiled, warmth spreading through her. She thought of Mr. Thompson, the Rosie's regular, whose words, "Don't let anyone dim your light," had stayed with her. She visited him at the diner, sharing her progress. "I knew you had it in you," he said, his eyes crinkling. "Keep shining." His encouragement, like that of her new community, was a thread in the tapestry of her growth. The family fallout was painful, But it clarified Emily's path. Michael's refusal to accept responsibility, Susan's tentative steps toward independence, and Ethan's awakening were their own journeys, separate from hers. Emily focused on herself, a radical act after years of self-sacrifice. She recorded a voice memo. "The family I knew is gone, but I'm building a new one. My dreams, my chosen people." Her scrapbook grew, now holding photos of Sophia's weeds, Lena's hands, Asheville's dawn. Each image was a milestone, proof of a life she was crafting with intention. As she walked through Asheville's vibrant streets, the Blue Ridge Mountains a steady presence, Emily felt a quiet triumph. Her grandmother's voice echoed, "Your heart knows when it's time to walk away." She'd walked away from exploitation, but now she was walking toward growth, supported by Mia, Margaret, David, Lena, and a community that saw her light. Her journal held a new poem. "I rise not from their ashes but from my own spark." The fallout had broken her family, but it had freed her to become the woman she was always meant to be, who could grow, heal, and shine. The October breeze carried the scent of fallen leaves through Asheville, North Carolina, as Emily Harper unlocked the door to her new studio apartment, a small but sacred space in the heart of the city. 3 months had passed since her 25th birthday, a day that had shattered her world when her father, Michael, sold her Honda Civic to fund her brother Ethan's tuition at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, and demanded $6,000 more. The discovery of Michael's identity theft, $30,000 in fraudulent loans and credit cards tied to his gambling debts at Harrah's Cherokee Casino, led to a confrontation that ended with Emily leaving her family's home. With support from Mia, her best friend from Rosie's Diner, Aunt Margaret in Charlotte, Uncle David in Raleigh, and a lawyer, Karen, she'd reclaimed her car and documents, filed police reports, and begun healing through therapy, volunteering, and her blog, Reclaiming My Frame. Now, standing in her own apartment, Emily was no longer defined by her family's expectations. She was building a life of her own, a testament to her resilience and a beacon of hope for the woman she was becoming. The studio was modest, its walls bare but brimming with possibility. Emily had furnished it with thrift store finds: a creaky bed, a wooden table with 2 mismatched chairs, a cinder block and board bookshelf holding her camera, scrapbook, and journal. Each item, chosen with care, felt like a declaration of independence. A stark contrast to the cramped bedroom in her parents' house, where she'd paid $500 a month since 16. She hung a photograph from her Cluba Dawn scene over the Blue Ridge Mountains above her bed, its soft light a reminder of new beginnings. Her journal lay open on the table, a new poem taking shape. "No longer bound, I claim my ground, my roots in freedom, deeply found." The words captured her journey, from betrayal to autonomy, a path she walked with growing confidence. Emily's new job at the River Arts District Gallery was a turning point. Recommended by Lena, her mentor from the photography club, the position offered steady hours and a creative environment, a far cry from the grueling shifts at Rosie's. She still picked up weekend shifts at the diner, savoring the familiar rhythm and Mr. Thompson's kind words, but the gallery felt like home. Surrounded by paintings and sculptures, she greeted visitors, curated displays, and learned about the business of art. Her supervisor, Claire, noticed her eye for detail. "You've got a gift, Emily," she said. "Ever thought about exhibiting your work?" The idea sparked a dream, and Emily began planning a small photography exhibit, a collection of images tracing her journey from pain to empowerment. The gallery's tuition reimbursement program was another gift, allowing Emily to resume her business classes at Asheville Buncombe Technical Community College with less financial strain. She enrolled in a course on entrepreneurship, envisioning a future where she could open her own photography studio. The structure of her new life work, school, volunteering at the youth center, gave her a rhythm she'd never known under Michael's control. At the youth center, she taught teens like Sophia to see the world through a lens, their enthusiasm fueling her own. Sophia's latest photo, a vibrant mural in West Asheville, now hung in Emily's apartment, a symbol of shared growth. Her reclaimed Honda Civic, recovered with Uncle David's help, had been traded for a used Subaru Outback, purchased with a legitimate auto loan that was rebuilding her credit. The transaction, transparent and empowering, stood in stark contrast to Michael's manipulations. Driving the Subaru through Asheville's winding streets, Emily felt a surge of freedom. the mountains a steady companion. She started a savings plan for a dream trip to Yosemite National Park, California, inspired by a gallery exhibit of Ansel Adams's landscapes. Each dollar set aside was a promise to herself, a future where she could explore the world on her terms. Emily's photography exhibit came together faster than she expected. Titled Breaking Dawn, it featured 10 images: the alley behind Rosie's where she'd learned of the betrayal, the Blue Ridge Mountains at sunrise, Sophia's mural, and a self-portrait, her eyes steady and bright. The gallery offered a small space for the show, and Emily invited her chosen family, Mia, Margaret, David, Lena, and her therapy group. Susan, her mother, asked to attend, a tentative step toward reconciliation after taking a full-time library job and questioning Michael's control. Emily agreed, setting clear boundaries. The exhibit was a triumph, with visitors lingering over her photos, drawn to their raw emotion. Susan, seeing the self-portrait, whispered, "I'm so proud of you." Emily nodded, the words a fragile bridge, not yet a bond. Her blog continued to grow, its posts now a blend of photography and reflections on independence. A recent entry, paired with a photo from the exhibit, read, "Freedom isn't just leaving, it's choosing who you become." Readers responded with stories of their own escapes, creating a virtual community that mirrored Emily's real-life support. One reader, a woman named Lily, wrote, "Your exhibit inspired me to leave my toxic job. Thank you." Emily replied, her heart full, "You're writing your own story now. Keep going." The exchange reinforced her belief that her journey could light the way for others. Therapy with Dr. Rachel remained a cornerstone, helping Emily navigate the guilt that surfaced when she prioritized herself. "Independence isn't selfish," Dr. Rachel said. "It's honoring the life you were given." Emily's latest journal, Exercise Listing What Brought Her Joy, yielded a simple list: photography, teaching, writing, the mountains. She taped it to her fridge, a daily reminder of her worth. Her volunteer work at the youth center deepened, with Sophia asking to collaborate on a community mural project, a chance to leave a mark on Asheville. Mia's support was unwavering, their evenings filled with laughter and plans. "This apartment's you, Em," Mia said, sprawled on the couch. "It's like you finally got room to breathe." Emily smiled, thinking of Mr. Thompson's words, "Don't let anyone dim your light." She visited him at Rosie's, sharing news of the exhibit. "You're a star," he said, his grin wide. The encouragement from old and new connections wove a safety net around her heart. As Emily stood in her apartment, the mountains glowing under a twilight sky, she felt a quiet triumph. Her grandmother's voice echoed, "Your heart knows when it's time to walk away." She'd walked away from exploitation, but now she was building a life of purpose. Her journal held a new poem: "My home, my heart, my chosen art." The exhibit, the Subaru, the savings for Yosemite, they were more than achievements. They were proof of her independence. Susan's presence at the exhibit hinted at a possible future, but Emily's focus was her own path, a road she was paving with courage and creativity. The Blue Ridge Mountains stood as witnesses, their permanence a mirror to the strength she'd found within, a strength that would carry her forward, free and unbroken. The soft glow of fairy lights illuminated Emily Harper's studio apartment in Asheville, North Carolina, as she set the table for a dinner unlike any she'd known in her family's home. 6 months had passed since her 25th birthday, a day that had unraveled her world when her father, Michael, sold her Honda Civic to fund her brother Ethan's tuition at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, and demanded $6,000 more. The discovery of Michael's identity theft, $30,000 in fraudulent loans and credit cards tied to his gambling debts at Harrah's Cherokee Casino led to a confrontation that ended with Emily leaving her childhood home. With support from Mia, her best friend from Rosie's Diner, Aunt Margaret in Charlotte, Uncle David in Raleigh, and a lawyer, Karen, she'd reclaimed her car, documents, and financial independence. Through therapy with Dr. Rachel, volunteering at a youth center, her blog, Reclaiming My Frame, and a photography exhibit at the River Arts District Gallery, Emily had built a new life. Now, as she prepared to host a chosen family dinner, she was redefining what family meant: not a bond of obligation, but a circle of mutual respect and love. a testament to her healing heart. The apartment, small but vibrant with thrift store treasures and her photographs, felt like a sanctuary. A framed print from her exhibit, a sunrise over the Blue Ridge Mountains, hung above the table, its light mirroring the hope Emily carried. Her journal lay open, a new poem taking shape. Family is not blood, but choice, a chorus woven with my voice. The words captured her journey, from the pain of betrayal to the joy of connection. Her blog had become a beacon, its latest post a reflection on her exhibit paired with a photo of Sophia's mural from the youth center reading. Family isn't who you're born to, but who you choose to grow with. Readers responded with stories of their own chosen families, creating a virtual community that echoed the one Emily was building in Asheville. Tonight's dinner was for those who'd stood by her: Mia, Margaret, David, and Lena from the photography club. Emily had hesitated before inviting Susan, her mother, who'd begun breaking free from Michael's control with a full-time library job in a small apartment. Their relationship was fragile, marked by Susan's attendance at Emily's exhibit. But Emily set clear boundaries: no contact with Michael, no talk of reconciliation. Susan's acceptance, quiet but sincere, felt like a step toward something new. As Emily stirred a pot of homemade chili, the aroma filling the apartment, she recorded a voice memo. "This dinner is my family, the one I've chosen. It's not perfect, but it's real." The act of speaking her truth, a habit born in the aftermath of betrayal, grounded her in the moment. The guests arrived, their laughter warming the space. Mia, her blonde curls bouncing, brought a bottle of wine and a playlist of indie folk tunes, setting a joyful tone. Margaret, her eyes bright with pride, hugged Emily tightly. "You've built something beautiful here," she said, gesturing to the apartment and the table. David, ever practical, handed her a budgeting book, a nod to their shared work untangling Michael's fraud. Lena, her photography mentor, brought a small print of Emily's self-portrait from the exhibit, a gift that made Emily's eyes sting. Susan arrived last, her presence tentative but warm, a bouquet of wildflowers in hand. "I'm learning, Emily," she said softly. "Thank you for letting me be here." Emily nodded. The flowers now in a vase at the table's center, a symbol of cautious hope. As they ate, stories flowed: Margaret's memories of resisting Michael's control as a child, David's advice on financial independence, Lena's tales of traveling as a young photographer, Mia's dreams of opening a cafe. Susan shared her own small victory, enrolling in a financial literacy course inspired by Emily's courage. The conversation was a tapestry of support, each voice affirming Emily's journey. She thought of her grandmother's words, "Your heart knows when it's time to walk away." She'd walked away from Michael's exploitation, but tonight, she was walking toward connection, a family defined by choice, not duty. Emily's relationship with Michael remained severed, a boundary she held without guilt. His plea deal, probation, counseling, restitution hadn't softened his blame, his texts accusing her of betrayal now ignored. Therapy with Dr. Rachel had taught her that forgiveness didn't mean reconciliation. She could release her anger without inviting further harm. Ethan, however, was finding his own path. His Vanderbilt dreams dashed by Michael's financial ruin, he thrived at community college, his bookstore job teaching him responsibility. Their coffee meetups in Asheville, once strained, were now genuine. His apology, "I didn't see your sacrifices," a bridge they were slowly crossing. "I'm proud of you, Em," he said recently, his words a gift she hadn't expected. Her blog post that week was her most vulnerable yet, titled, "Chosen Family." Paired with a photo of her dinner table, it read, "Family isn't a house you're trapped in, but a circle you choose. My circle: Mia, Margaret, David, Lena. Even my mom, learning to stand on her own, shows me love doesn't demand sacrifice. It builds you up." The post resonated widely, with readers sharing stories of estrangement and renewal. One comment from a man named Tom read, "Your words helped me reconnect with my sister after years apart." Emily replied, her heart full, "You're building your circle too." The blog, once a private outlet, was now a platform for healing, hers and others. Volunteering at the youth center remained a joy, with Sophia's mural project gaining momentum. Emily and Sophia painted alongside community members, their brushes turning a blank wall into a vibrant tapestry of Asheville's spirit. "You make me believe I can do anything," Sophia said, her smile mirroring Emily's own growth. The youth center, like the photography club, was a chosen family, a place where Emily's light could shine. Lena, seeing her progress, suggested a mentorship program at the gallery, an idea Emily was eager to explore. Mia's support was unwavering, their evenings filled with plans for Emily's Yosemite trip, now a tangible goal with her savings growing. "You're going to photograph those mountains like nobody else," Mia said, her grin infectious. Emily visited Mr. Thompson at Rosie's, sharing her blog's success. "You're changing lives, kid," he said, his pride a steady anchor. Margaret and David, her steadfast allies, offered guidance, their weekly calls a reminder of family redefined. As the dinner wound down, Emily raised a glass. "To choosing who we call family," she said, her voice steady. The clink of glasses, the warmth of their smiles, filled her with gratitude. She thought of her scrapbook, now thick with photos Sophia's mural, Lena's gift, tonight's table. Each image was a chapter in her story, a story of redefining family not as obligation, but as love that uplifts. Her latest voice memo captured the moment. "I've found my people, my home, my heart. Family is what I make it." Standing by her window, the Blue Ridge Mountains cloaked in twilight, Emily felt a profound peace. Her grandmother's wisdom had guided her here, to a life where love didn't demand her erasure. Her journal held a final poem. "My family, my choice, my voice rises." Susan's presence, Ethan's growth, and Michael's absence were part of her story, but not its center. Emily was the center, her heart a compass pointing toward a future built on mutual respect. The mountains stood as witnesses, their strength mirrored in her own, a woman who had redefined family and found her place in the world. The golden light of an October afternoon bathed Asheville, North Carolina, as Emily Harper stood outside her favorite cafe on Patton Avenue, the Blue Ridge Mountains framing the horizon like a promise kept. It was her 26th birthday, a milestone marking 1 year since the day her world shattered when her father, Michael, sold her Honda Civic to fund her brother Ethan's tuition at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, and demanded $6,000 more, revealing his identity theft of over $30,000 in fraudulent loans and credit cards tied to gambling debts at Harrah's Cherokee Casino. That betrayal had driven Emily from her family's home, but it had also sparked a journey of transformation. Supported by Mia, her best friend from Rosie's Diner, Aunt Margaret in Charlotte, Uncle David in Raleigh, and a lawyer, Karen, she'd reclaimed her car, documents, and financial independence. Through therapy with Dr. Rachel, volunteering at a youth center, her blog, Reclaiming My Frame, a photography exhibit at the River Arts District Gallery, and a new life in her studio apartment, Emily had redefined family as those who uplifted her. Now, hosting a birthday celebration with her chosen family, she reflected on a year of courage, healing, and purpose, ready to inspire others with her story. The cafe's private room buzzed with warmth as Emily greeted her guests. Mia, Margaret, David, Lena from the photography club, Dr. Rachel, Sophia from the youth center, and co-workers from the gallery and Rosie's. Susan, her mother, and Ethan, her brother, were there too, their presence a cautious bridge after a year of growth. Susan's independence from Michael, Ethan's maturity at community college. Michael was absent, a boundary Emily held firm, his probation and refusal to accept responsibility a closed chapter. The table was set with wildflowers and candles, a nod to the chosen family dinner she'd hosted months ago. Her journal, tucked in her bag, held a new poem. From broken ground, I rise to soar, my heart, my home, forevermore. The words captured her transformation, a journey from exploitation to empowerment, now celebrated with those who saw her light. Emily's year had been a tapestry of milestones. Her job at the gallery had blossomed, her role expanding to include curating exhibits, aligning with her passion for photography. A scholarship from the gallery's educational program covered her business classes, fueling her dream of opening a studio. Her Subaru Outback, bought with a legitimate loan, carried her through Asheville's streets, each drive a reminder of her autonomy. Her savings for a Yosemite National Park trip grew steadily, a symbol of a world she was ready to explore. Volunteering at the youth center had deepened, with Sophia's mural project now a vibrant landmark in West Asheville. Emily's mentorship program, launched with Lena's support, paired young women facing family pressure with creative outlets like photography, a legacy of her own resilience. Her blog had become a movement. A recent post, 1 year free, paired with a photo of her exhibit's self-portrait, went viral, shared across social media with thousands of comments. "A year ago, I walked away from a family that stole my trust," she wrote. "Today, I stand in a life I built, surrounded by love that asks nothing but my truth." Readers responded with stories of their own transformations, from leaving abusive relationships to pursuing forgotten dreams. One comment, from a woman named Sarah, read, "Your story gave me the courage to set boundaries with my parents." "Thank you," Emily replied, her heart swelling. "You're writing your own freedom now." The blog's reach inspired her to plan a podcast, a future project to amplify voices like hers. Therapy with Dr. Rachel had been transformative, helping Emily unravel the guilt that once defined her. "You've learned to love yourself without needing their approval, Doctor," Rachel said during a recent session. Emily's latest journal exercise listing her strength-sealed words like resilient, creative, compassionate. She taped the list to her apartment wall, a daily affirmation. Her photography, now a central part of her identity, captured Asheville's beauty and her own growth. A new series, inspired by Yosemite's vastness, explored themes of freedom, each image a step toward her dream trip. The cafe celebration was a far cry from last year's forgotten birthday, overshadowed by Ethan's Vanderbilt acceptance. Mia raised a glass, her grin wide. "To Emily, who turned pain into power." Laughter and clinks followed, the room alive with affection. Margaret, her eyes misty, shared a memory of Emily as a child, always sketching the mountains. David toasted her financial savvy, a nod to their work repairing her credit. Susan, quieter, said, "I'm learning from you, Emily," her words a fragile gift. Ethan, now a grounded young man, added, "You showed me what strength looks like." Sophia, clutching a photo she'd taken, beamed with pride. The love, freely given, was a wealth Emily hadn't known was possible. Emily stood, her voice steady. "A year ago, I thought family was duty, sacrifice, pain. You've shown me it's joy, support, choice. Thank you for being my family." Applause filled the room, her heart full. She thought of Mr. Thompson, the Rosie's regular whose words, "Don't let anyone dim your light," had guided her. She'd visited him recently, sharing her scholarship news. "You're a force, kid," he'd said, his pride a steady anchor. Her scrapbook, now thick with memories, Sophia's mural, Lena's print, the cafe's candle stole a story of transformation, each page a chapter of courage. Her mentorship program was her proudest achievement, a way to pay forward the support she'd received. Sophia, its first participant, was planning her own exhibit, a testament to Emily's impact. The program, backed by the gallery, aimed to empower young women to find their voices, a mission that felt like her calling. Emily's latest voice memo captured her vision. "I'm not just healing, I'm helping others heal. This is my legacy." The mountains outside the cafe, bathed in sunset, stood as witnesses to her growth, their permanence mirroring her newfound strength. As the evening wound down, Emily stepped outside, the cool air a balm. Her blog post that night, "A Birthday Reborn," was a call to action. Your worth isn't what you give, others it's who you are. Choose yourself, and the right people will choose you too. The post, shared widely, became a rallying cry, its message of self-love resonating across borders. A reader named James wrote, "I left my toxic family today because of you." Emily's reply, "You're free now," sealed her purpose. Back in her apartment, Emily stood by her window, the mountains cloaked in twilight. Her grandmother's words echoed, "Your heart knows when it's time to walk away." She'd walked away from pain, but now she was running toward possibility. Her journal held a final poem. "My life, my light, my endless flight. Michael's absence, Susan's growth, Ethan's redemption, they were threads in her story. But Emily was the weaver. The scholarship, the mentorship, the blog, Yosemite's promise they were hers, built from courage and love. As she prepared for bed, the mountains whispered of a future unbound, a life where her light would shine forever, a beacon for others to follow. Emily Harper's journey began in the rain-soaked streets of Asheville, North Carolina on her 25th birthday, a day that should have been hers but was stolen by betrayal. Her father, Michael, sold her Honda Civic, a car she'd spent 3 years saving for through grueling shifts at Rosie's Diner, to fund her brother Ethan's tuition deposit at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee. His cold text: "We sold your car. Family first. Be grateful we let you stay," and demand for $6,000 more unveiled a deeper wound. Michael's identity theft, with over $30,000 in fraudulent loans and credit cards in her name, tied to gambling debts at Harrah's Cherokee Casino. This revelation, uncovered in the secrecy of Michael's office, shattered Emily's trust, exposing years of financial and emotional exploitation. Since 16, she'd paid $500 a month to live in her childhood bedroom. Her dreams of attending UNC Chapel Hill deferred for the family's needs, while Ethan, the golden child, was showered with privileges. The confrontation at a family dinner, where Michael's ultimatum pie, or leave forced her out into the night, marked the end of her old life and the beginning of a profound transformation. Emily's first steps were tentative, guided by the memory of her grandmother's wisdom. Your heart knows when it's time to walk away. She found refuge with Mia, her best friend from Rosie's, whose couch became a sanctuary. Aunt Margaret in Charlotte and Uncle David in Raleigh offered emotional and practical support, confirming Michael's history of control and helping Emily navigate the fraud. With lawyer Karen's guidance, she reclaimed her car, documents, and financial autonomy, filing police reports that led to Michael's probation and restitution. Ethan, discovering his own identity had been exploited, joined her fight, their shared pain forging a new bond. Emily's blog, Reclaiming My Frame, became a platform for her photography and reflections, its raw honesty resonating with thousands. Her photography club, led by mentor Lena, and volunteering at a youth center with teens like Sophia, gave her purpose, while therapy with Dr. Rachel helped her unravel the guilt and obligation that had once defined her. By her 26th birthday, Emily stood in a life she'd built herself. Her studio apartment in Asheville, furnished with thrift store treasures and her photographs, was a testament to her independence. Her job at the River Arts District Gallery, supported by a scholarship, aligned with her passion for photography and fueled her dream of opening a studio. A used Subaru Outback, bought with a legitimate loan, replaced her stolen Civic, each drive a celebration of freedom. Her savings for a trip to Yosemite National Park grew, a promise of exploration. Her mentorship program, empowering young women through creative expression, was her legacy, inspired by her own journey. Susan, her mother, had taken steps toward independence, their relationship cautious but growing, while Ethan thrived at community college, his newfound humility a quiet redemption. Michael remained distant, his refusal to accept responsibility a boundary Emily held firm, a lesson in forgiveness without reconciliation. Emily's transformation was not just personal but communal. Her blog post, 1 Year Free, went viral, its message of choosing oneself inspiring readers worldwide. Her photography exhibit, Breaking Dawn, captured her journey from betrayal to empowerment, drawing crowds to the gallery. The chosen family dinner with Mia, Margaret, David, Lena, and Susan, and her birthday celebration at a Patton Avenue cafe were moments of love freely given, a stark contrast to the obligation of her past. Volunteers like Sophia, co-workers, and even Mr. Thompson, the Rosie's regular whose words, "Don't let anyone dim your light," had guided her, formed a circle that uplifted her. The Blue Ridge Mountains, ever present, stood as witnesses to her resilience, their strength mirrored in her own. The lesson from Emily's story is profound. True family is not defined by blood or obligation, but by mutual respect and love that allows you to thrive as your authentic self. Her journey teaches us that courage to set boundaries, even with those closest to us, is an act of self-love, not betrayal. Emily's transformation began when she chose herself, walking away from exploitation to build a life aligned with her values, creativity, community, and purpose. This lesson resonates in today's world, where many face pressure to sacrifice their dreams for family expectations or societal norms. Whether it's saying no to a toxic relationship, pursuing a deferred passion, or seeking help to reclaim your voice, Emily's story shows that change is possible, even when it feels impossible. To apply this lesson, start small but intentional. Reflect on your relationships. Do they uplift or drain you? Journal your thoughts, as Emily did, to clarify your needs. Seek support friends, mentors, or professionals like Dr. Rachel who see your worth. Take one bold step, like Emily's decision to leave, whether it's setting a boundary, enrolling in a class, or starting a creative project. Protect your financial and emotional autonomy, as Emily learned through workshops and legal action, ensuring no one exploits your trust. Build your chosen family, as she did with Mia, Margaret, and Sophia, by nurturing connections that celebrate your growth. Emily's mentorship program reminds us to pay it forward, helping others find their strength. Her blog's viral reach shows the power of sharing your story, inspiring change in ways you can't predict. Emily's year of transformation, from a rain-soaked night to a sunlit birthday, is a beacon for anyone feeling trapped. The mountains of Asheville, steady through her storms, symbolize the resilience within us all. Her story urges you to claim your light, to walk away from what dims it, and to build a life where you soar. As Emily wrote in her final poem, "My life, my light, my endless flight." Let her courage be yours, a reminder that you are enough, and your heart knows the way to freedom.